Have you ever felt like the world applauded the idea of you, but abandoned the man you became when the applause faded? This is the story of Kabir, a boy of soft hands and loud dreams, who grew up under a leaking tin roof and learned early that promises often sound brighter than they feel. When Kabir was young, people called him clever. The shopkeepers would clap when he recited a poem. The teachers would pat his shoulder and say, "He will go far." Even the neighbors would say his name with a proud smile, as if speaking his future into being. That kind of love can lift you. It can make you breathe easier. Kabir learned to float on it. He learned to expect that life would answer him back. But life, for some people, is quiet in how it changes. After college, Kabir began to ask life for simple things: an honest job, a small respect, a place where he could wake and say, "I work today." He applied, waited, and saved his hopes for the sound of a single phone call. For months, the phone stayed silent. Months turned to seasons. The first shock was small, a line in an email that said, "We regret to inform you." The small shock multiplied. Doors that once opened cracked. People who once smiled found small, awkward reasons to stay away. "Still no job?" they would ask, not unkindly, but with a tone that pushed him back into the room of his own shame. The world changed, not because people were cruel, but because respect often rides on forward movement. When someone stops moving, the world's attention drifts. It was IT only, the job that Kabir lost. It was the soft light that others had shown him. One by one, invites stopped coming. The friendly tea-chat on the street ended. Cousins stopped asking how he was doing in front of a crowd. He learned that admiration could be a fragile thing. It can appear as loudly as thunder and evaporate like summer rain. Kabir began to keep his head down. He sat longer on his bed. He walked with his hands in his pockets and his mind full of questions that had no easy answers. He avoided the eyes that asked about plans. He pretended to read the newspaper while the words blurred. Some nights he would lie awake listening to the hollow sound of his own breath. The loneliness was not loud. It was a quiet erosion. One evening, when the wind smelled like wet earth and the village lamps flickered, Kabir heard his father speak to a neighbor. He was a bright boy. "I don't know what happened." The words did not mean harm, but they pierced him deeper than any insult. Kabir didn't speak. He walked outside and let the dark cover him. That night, he felt small enough to hide. But there are rare people in life who do not measure you by your resume. That night, an old man from the next lane sat beside Kabir. The man had a lined face and a slow smile. He didn't ask for explanations. He simply sat and watched the sky. After a long quiet, he asked instead about Kabir's childhood, about the first steps, the first songs, the first fights, the small, beautiful things no employer had ever asked about. "You were born with nothing," the old man said at last. "You walked your first steps without a certificate. You learned to laugh, to cry, to stand without praise. Why do you think the praise from others is your anchor now?" Kabir had no answer. The truth tasted bitter. He had anchored himself to other people's applause. He had confused being celebrated with being steady. "Respect comes when you move," the old man said quietly, "not when you wait for others to notice." People respect movement, learning, effort, the small daily steps. When you stop, the world forgets. Not because the world is cruel, but because life moves, and those who move come into its light. For a long time, Kabir simply listened. The old man's words were not a sermon, they were a mirror. In that reflection, Kabir saw himself for what he had become, a man holding his dreams like fragile lamps in a storm. The next morning, Kabir did something small and terrifying. He woke before dawn. He did not wait for motivation to knock. He made a tiny ritual: wash his face, sit by a quiet corner, and write 3 small things he could do that day. The list was humble: improve a single sentence in his English every day, learn a new word, send 1 application, help the neighbor draw water, invite the shy boy from the lane to practice conversation with him. Small actions, nothing heroic. But for a man who had been still for so long, they were a revolution. Days became a thin chain of such small victories. He practiced English listening on an old phone with busted volume. He watched the same tutorial 50 times until the words stopped feeling foreign. He learned to answer a recruiter's message without shaking. He learned to call employers again after rejection. He held his head high, not because he had been handed dignity, but because he had built it slowly, stone by patient stone. Progress was not spectacular. There were failures, interviews he thought he aced but did not get, messages from employers that went unanswered, afternoons when his courage folded like wet paper. But through each failure, Kabir did not stop moving. Sometimes failing felt like being knocked down. Other times, it felt like leaning forward to catch wind. Then, the village changed into a city in the story of his life. Kabir took a small bus to the town where extra work could be found. The streets smelled different: diesel and tea stalls, and the high-pitched chorus of distant traffic. Here, the anonymity that had once felt like an erasure became a chance. In the city, no one remembered his childhood praises or his recent silence. He could be anyone. He could become someone else. He found small work first, cleaning at a little cafe in the morning, answering phones in a dusty office in the evening, folding boxes at the market by night. The money was little. The work was humble. The dignity he carried back home came not from the amount he earned, but from the fact that he had chosen something, anything, instead of waiting. Slowly, people noticed, not in the loud way of old praises, but in the steady way of witnessing change. A shopkeeper who used to scoff now nodded. A cousin handed him a small job lead without the pity he had once seen. The neighbors stopped whispering and started asking practical questions. How long will you be gone? When will you come back? The questions were ordinary, but to Kabir they felt like recognition grounded in reality. One afternoon, in a narrow office smelling of ink and tea, a small company messaged him, "We would like to interview you for a junior position." It was not the dream job he had imagined when applause filled his childhood, but it was a door. He took the interview with trembling hands, and for the first time, he did not ask the world to save him. He showed them what he had been doing, the courses he had taken, the hours he had practiced, the small projects he had completed. He spoke with the soft kind of confidence that grows from repeated small acts. They hired him. It was a small role at first, a place to prove himself. The first check felt strange. It was both nothing and everything. Kabir took the money and walked home slow, thinking about how thin the line between being praised and being useful had always been. When he returned to his village, something inside him had changed. He did not walk with pride or with loud announcements. Instead, his shoulders fit the air differently. He spoke kindly. He listened more. He offered small help to people who once ignored him. He sat with the old man and brewed tea that tasted like rain. The neighbors, who had whispered now, asked for his advice on small matters. Not everyone celebrated him. That was never the point. What mattered was that Kabir had found his own step and kept walking. The truth of his life The hardest truth was not that people will always respect you, but that you must respect yourself. Respect is not a gift from others. It is the shadow of your movement. A job can come and go. Money can vanish. But the daily acts, the choice to rise, to learn, to fail courageously, to stand again, those form the architecture of your dignity. If you are watching this and your life feels still, if people treat you like a paused figure in their busy frame, remember Kabir, your worth has not gone. It is waiting to be rebuilt with your hands. Start with the smallest thing, a single sentence you will learn today, one call you will make, one small task you will finish. Let that small thing be the first stone of a long road. Share this story with the person who needs it, because sometimes a single story is the mirror someone uses to see their own movement. Sometimes a single voice is the friend who says, "Keep walking, you will fall again, you will fail again, but falling is better than standing still. Keep building, keep moving. The world respects motion, and even if applause disappears, your dignity will remain because you made it yourself." Thank you for watching.